good morning and welcome members. I believe I have to do a brief introduction. Welcome councillors, officers and members of the public to the meeting of the Policy and Development Committee. A reminder, please switch your mobile phones to silent. There may be members of the public or press attending this meeting. Can I please ask those attending virtually to switch off your microphone to avoid any disruption during the meeting. The meeting is being recorded and will be available in due course on the council's YouTube. Reminder to councillors to ensure that those who are attending virtually can hear the proceedings and for the recordings to capture the entire meeting, please ensure that you project your voice and speak clearly. Please remember it's a formal meeting and therefore do not refer to each other by first name. Right. Right, let's start the meeting if I may. Apologies, please.
Yes, apologies of absence have been received from councillors Dirk Spear, who's with us virtually today, and Ian.
Hope you get better soon, Derek. Item 2, to approve as a correct record the minutes of the meeting held on the 17th of November 2022, attached, pages 5 to 12.
We haven't got pretty those off, sorry. I did look through them online and they looked all right to me, so I'll move that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Second. All those in favour? No.
I'm sorry, I'm going to abstain because I have been on and read. So just to safeguard myself, sorry.
Item 3, items brought forward which in the opinion of the chair should be considered by the meeting as a matter of urgency. I have none. Item 4, declarations of interest.
I've received none unless there's any doubt.
To agree the agenda between part A and part B. I believe there's no part B. No. Other than that, we'll move on to part A, internal items. Item 6, the North Devon Council work streams, which are addressing coastal. Deprivation. Oh, yeah. Yeah, concerns. Jeremy, I believe that's good for you.
Good morning, members. Since the last meeting, I've undertaken a level of investigation into the headline information that was presented in kind of like a national summary level by the Chief Medical Officer's report about coastal deprivation. And then I provided you with some headline information that I was aware of in relation to North Devon, but I recognise that the information and the detail of the information that I presented regarding the circumstances, the conditions that we find ourselves in North Devon was limited. I spoke with colleagues across the organisation, and I was made aware of this document that I would wish to introduce to you today, which I will make available via member services for your wider consideration. But there's an organisation called OCSI that North Devon Plus subscribes to, and this organisation provides a insight report on all the issues of concern that are relevant to your considerations in North Devon. And the really positive thing also is sometimes as officers we're guilty of producing data to you that's a bit old and we say, oh, it's only a couple of years old. But this is a report that was produced in July of 2022. This is a fantastic document. It's a 70-page document, but it gives you an absolute insight of what your population looks like, the vulnerable groups within your population, headline information around housing, crime, health and well-being, education, economy, access and transport, certain environmental things in a way that is really snappy and easy to understand. And my reflection, having seen the document, was why is this document not more widely available? Because surely this is quite a fundamental bit of intelligence that we could all benefit from.
So it could go down to parish council, for example.
It doesn't report to parish level, but you know, the consideration that we made in relation to this work, that this is at the wider population level of North Devon. So what I'd like to do with your consent, Chair, is to highlight some of the information that's within this report, and then highlight my understanding of the streams that are set up already to address these concerns, because my view is that although it's not, we don't have a coastal deprivation group, we have significant activity supporting all the areas of concern, and it's inevitable in a big organisation that very few of us, and I certainly didn't have this appreciation, and I took this work, a full understanding of all the things that are happening to kind of alleviate some of these concerns.
Can I just ask a quick question? Is this a good document for supporting like bids and things? Evidence of
And that's,
need?
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's a purpose, I think, why North Devon Plus
Yeah,
subscribes to
okay.
this organisation. But it's the information contained in it is so useful to the rest of the organisation.
And this is North Devon, not Northern Devon. It doesn't
No,
include
this
Torres,
is-
it's just us.
This is
Yeah.
North Devon.
Yeah.
What I do have also as part of this, there is a specific insight report. That's too small, isn't it? It's very large on my screen. I'll talk through it. But it'll be made available. I think it's really important that I use this as a prompt to talk through the points. So I understand probably we can just about see the pictures rather than the text. There is another insight report available
The larger.
that has exactly this information, but that is specific to Ilfracombe. And Ilfracombe is obviously our largest coastal community of concern.
Sat on the shoulder.
I was just asking Oriana if whoever's hosting the Zoom meeting can zoom in probably on that. And they probably can. Who's sharing? Oh, okay.
And it's larger than Jeremy's screen, so I don't know why it's not larger than his screen.
So this is collated by a third-party organisation, a private organisation that North Devon Plus subscribe to, but the private organisation extracts data sets from public sources, but puts them all neatly into a report. So to have a report for North Devon that says your population is this, your vulnerable groups are this, your housing concerns are this, your crime and safety concerns are this. This is how your young people are performing in education. Your economy looks like this. Your environment is at this standard. Is a tremendous source of information for consideration of this group, particularly when you are concerned then around the prevalence of some of these concerns in our community.
Jeremy, back to my earlier question, is there any reason why this information should not be made available at parish level?
Only by the cost of this, so it is, I'm aware that the data set, a report has been procured for Ilfracombe. I'm not sure the wider data sets that underpin this are available quite at parish level. They'll probably go down to town level. So I'm not sure it could be driven down as small to a parish level.
Can they get access if they want to?
I'm not sure the original data sets are collated in a way that would provide that level of report. But certainly I would be able to share with you this report and all the report that is specific to
Jeremy, may I interrupt? About Councillor Jenkins concerned, wouldn't it be easier for like ourselves as district councils when we attend the parish meetings with the councillors' reports? Give them this report.
No, I think what, Jeremy's talking about, that we can access in greater detail
Yeah.
at a parish level. I don't think you were meaning that they can't see it.
Yeah, but if you pass it on,
I assume
I'm not-
you want to see.
Yeah, the point I was uncertain about is whether the report is collated at a level that allows an analysis at parish level.
Not that they can't see it.
And I understand that, but the general information will help them to understand the communities in principle. And I think the fact that it's of interest to us as a forum, they have the same interest. Our interest in it is absolutely overlaid.
I will certainly make the inquiries. This is information that is collated by a third party. So this is not a cheap report, I don't believe. But it is such a useful report and there is such, it's just the ease of the accessibility of the information provided by seeing a report that provides summary level detail of all these things is absolutely massive.
So it's not a public document then?
So it is a document that the council is part of North Devon Plus. North Devon Plus
see.
has procured the document.
Right,
That is absolutely appropriate that you should have sight of this document from my perspective. And it is so material to your considerations as regards, well, what is going on in North Devon? What is the, what are the prevalence of particular issues of concern? So this report indicates things that we know about around the prevalence of vulnerable groups, the prevalence of issues around housing as regards affordability, as regards housing standards, as regards the prevalence of fuel poverty. One of the headline lines under housing, 5% of households in North Devon do not have central heating. And that's quite a significant issue of concern.
This time of year.
Particularly at this time of year, particularly at a time of a cost of living crisis, when people are then using other forms of more expensive heating. It's almost a kind of is a double whammy, isn't it? 24% of people in North Devon have no qualifications, compared to 21% across North Devon. So these are really fundamental challenges for us in relation to how we would seek to make a positive difference to our community. One of the things that we have to recognise also now is the statutory responsibilities that we have as a district council as opposed to other organisations. And that was a point made by Ian Rue. So in relation to housing, in the report, you will see the detail, and I'm not going to show you the slides because the writing will be too small. It's absolutely super on my screen. I can't believe it's so dinky on the screen that you're looking at. But housing is recognised as a corporate priority for this council. And there are 11 programmes of work that have been set up to address the housing priorities of North Devon. So there's a corporate programme of action around housing and community safety, 11 priority programmes of work, equally addressing housing supply and housing demand. The deficiency of the current arrangements up until this point is that that story of that work is not being more widely communicated. So what are these programmes? How well are you doing on those programmes? And rightfully, you would say, when you see a report identify concerns around deprivation, you would say, well, where is the council's activity in this regard? So the positive thing that is happening now is that a report is being put together to go to the Council Strategy and Resources Committee, which will set out the council's progress on its priority programmes of action. So and also programmes around housing will be reported on, and you will have sight of them. And I don't believe there is any deficiency in those programmes. Those programmes, as they address supply issues. So increasing the supply of housing, increasing the supply of affordable housing, but also include action around reducing demand, around homelessness, around improving housing standards. So it is unfortunate. It's really positive that this committee's identified the concern, and the deficiency of the current arrangement is that all that work is not being communicated, or has not yet been communicated when put properly into the public domain, but that work is happening.
Thank you, Chairman. I've got a few questions first. Councillor Walker.
Yeah, I mean, the education skills round is a bit frightening because, I mean, I'm assuming that means that they don't even have a level 1 qualification at the moment.
24% of people have no qualifications in North Devon compared with 21% across Devon.
Yeah.
But it's reflecting on the role that we have
Yeah.
as a district council.
Yeah.
And Ian's room point was, well, it's right that we focus on areas where we have a statutory duty, and we have a statutory duty to vulnerable people, a statutory duty in relation to housing, statutory duty in relation to crime and disorder. And then we get into some areas of statutory responsibility in relation to environmental protection. Some of our wider ambitions then are not so prescribed in statute.
Councillor York.
Yeah, obviously, we do have a lead member for housing. And I'm wondering whether, and I'm trying to scratch my brain here, I know on our full council agenda, we have a standing item for the lead member for climate. Do we have one for housing? And if not, maybe we should, so that there is some regular feedback.
Yeah, so
It seems it is a statutory duty.
Yeah.
So
there is, the council's embarking on new programmes of action and a new way of working. We have a programme management office run by Nina Lake.
Mhm.
And it will be Nina's report that will collate and put together all the programmes of action of the council that are working to meet the priority programmes of action contained within this, or that address many of the concerns contained within this report. And some of the detail, when you scrutinise the report, well, it is quite profound. It is profound. It is we're an outlier. This gives the hard-nosed information about precisely where North Devon is in 2022. But it is the case that there's a programme a massive programme of action around housing. There is a very significant programme around the economy. And all of those programmes will now be picked up and properly reported to you, because understandably you would be thinking, hang on a minute, but where's you know, what is the council's act, what is the council's activity? And it's arguably, you know, that report should have arguably gone before.
Okay.
You know, that's reality. When I look at other areas of concern in this document, there's an area of concern around crime and disorder, community safety. So there is a community safety partnership of 7 statutory agencies with the voluntary sector that seeks to improve community safety, reduce offending. But at this point, the work of that group again is not fed. It's not being properly reported to you. So there's work that we need to do now to make sure that all of the work that is responding to the areas of concern that you've so appropriately recognised, that is very starkly set out in this insight report, that needs to happen. And in my assessment of the areas of concern, there isn't an area that isn't being attended to. So I don't see any area of concern identified in this report where there isn't a programme of action, either that the council is leading on, or the council is contributing towards it. So there's a lot of the talk in the coastal deprivation report was around health, health inequalities. So there is an organisation or a collaboration in North Devon called One Northern Devon. And there is a specific strand of work around tackling health inequalities. And as SMT, we've recently met John Walmsley and Angela Beecham. And we will be involved, and we are involved in that strand of work in seeking to address health inequalities and improve the health status of our population. If we don't properly communicate our involvement in that work, then there's a challenge then from you guys saying, well, what is the council doing in relation to these concerns? We're not telling the picture of lots of really good work that's happening in collaboration with our partners. And that's I say that is that's a shame, but in a way I've been positively reassured by the work that I've undertaken in relation to the fact that I could look at vulnerable groups and I could look at the work around the Freedom Centre, the work around high flow and with One Northern Devon, the work around fuel poverty. I can see lots of interventions associated with all of these areas of concern that just need to be properly reported through, and that process is happening. And I'm wondering whether your committee would wish to see sight of the report that is going to community statutory resources committee on the corporate programmes of action, because then you would be able to cross-reference the information from this report to those programmes of action. I think that would be
Yes.
because I'm just conscious that not everyone necessarily would pick the information up on the strategy resources agenda. I think that would be a potential really good action.
Just a note.
Yeah, if I may, we're almost coming full circle from my earlier question. It looks as though there's a lot of work going on in the background. It's not percolating down to the people who are our customers, if you will. You know, we're serving a community, and they don't know, and they're when they get their bills for rates and the like, they will say, well, what are we paying this for? What are we getting? The information that you're alluding to here ought to be made public and it ought to come all cascade right down to the end users. And I'm not sure that that's done in so many of our activities. There's a lot of things that we get involved with at parish level. And frankly, we often, I speak for myself here, don't have enough information that is readily available that I can pass on to at parish level.
Exactly, I agree 100%.
So you're absolutely right. We, sometimes to the, if I'm honest, to the frustration of our communications teams, because if our communication teams are not furnished with the information from service delivery teams, stuff ain't gonna go out. And we must to a greater extent prioritise that information. I know in my own world, we've put together a housing bulletin in relation to some of the housing work. And I'm not sure whether that was issued to all members at the time. But we've done one bulletin. And these are things that just need to be more, there needs to be greater attention to that. And if we sometimes do our officers a disservice if we don't communicate their work that they're doing, because they need to be recognised and rewarded for that work. Some of this work is really quite challenging in the context of, the environment that we're working in, and people need to get that boost. So that I think that's a really good representation. I'm happy to step back and to say it absolutely echoes the sentiment from, say, people in my communications team who are saying, well, why are you not giving us this information at a rate that enables us to get the information out?
Just one of the glaring anomalies that we are all aware of. We talk about affordable housing. Largely, that as a name or the group it has no meaning in North Devon. The people who need affordable housing can't afford £250,000 worth of mortgage.
No.
The challenge is
No easy answer to that. Perhaps we should just change the name.
Well, the challenge around housing is both affordability, but there is also now a challenge around accessibility. So when supply is reduced, some of our strategically important employers are saying to us, we're struggling to get people to North Devon because of their ability to access the housing market, not because of necessarily the affordability of those properties, because of the availability of those properties in the marketplace. So we have a challenge around affordability. We have a challenge around standards, but we also have a challenge around accessibility because of the lack of supply. And that is it's an absolute challenge. So it's and that the concern around housing accessibility has come about and is more prevalent now because of what's happened post the pandemic. Absolutely challenging situation. But I just wanted to give your committee the reassurance that I have scrutinised in detail this insights report against the programmes of work I'm aware that are being delivered across the organisation, either directly or indirectly, and I'm not seeing an area of deficiency of an area that has been neglected. I see an area but I do see the story not being told, and you guys then not being informed of that work, and being informed of that work that has been undertaken. And that is a situation that we've just got to address, and we are addressing it now through, say, the report that's going to the Strategy and Resources Committee. I do think it would be very useful for that report to come to the policy committee as well for your consideration. So you would then have this and the document to have a look at.
Thank you, Jamie.
Go back to the beginning. Who instigated this report? This private company did it. Who set it up then? And because, if it's a private company, could they not have picked and chosen what they were actually reporting, bringing forward to you? And the other thing is, were you not consulted right from the beginning of not informed that this was going ahead? Because it seems a bit odd, it's only just come to you once it's been formulated and finished.
So this is a report produced by a private company. That is, it's in a standard format that is made available. It's an offer that they make available to all local authorities because they realise how important it is and the potential revenue that they can generate for their business in producing a document. If I'm honest, you know, it's a market. It's a market. It's a market. So this document was purchased by North Devon Plus, which is a company partly owned by North Devon Council. And it was only during the course of my research into this issue that I was made aware of the existence of this document.
Seems bad when you know.
But it's not to say that I wasn't aware of many of the issues of concern.
Yeah.
But the accessibility of the information and my ability to convey the information to you as community leaders of the circumstances of things that are happening in your community, I've only come across this more recently.
Seems a bit odd.
Actually, yours.
So just in terms of where they,
Sorry.
in terms of where they get their data from, why are we unable to access those sources and create our own document for free?
So the data sources are identified in the report. The answer is, could we have done it? Yes. Have we got the time and the competency necessarily to do that? No.
Okay,
So I think it's really good. I think it's really good value to
Yeah.
have this type of information. And all of our work needs to be driven by the intelligence of our local situation. And if we are allocating, lots of our interventions are they're costly. They should be properly targeted. They should be informed by community need. As community leaders, you should have an absolute understanding of community need because that informs your priorities moving forward. And this is the best document that I've ever seen that sets out the community need of North Devon. I know 71 pages, but it's accessible. It's easy to understand.
What timescale did they, to do this report? How many years did it take them to do it?
No, I think it's relatively straightforward.
So it's fairly quick. It's not historical and.
No, it's up to date information. That's the benefit of it. It really is. It's fantastic.
I have a question from Councillor Mackie. Councillor Jenkins, can you put your hand up when you wish to speak? Councillor Mackie, might be.
Oh, yeah, I was only going to ask that this CSI, the private company, so it's sort of been buried that it's been doing this work and now it's of great use. I mean, is this the only thing they do, or can we use them for something else that we can ask them to do that we know of?
So
That needs doing, is that the only thing that they do, is this little breakdown?
so they provide various intelligence reports for organisations, local authorities that set out on their website.
Right.
You know, they I'd say I think it's for me it would appear to make it's really good value for money to have the information collated in a manner which we know it's robust, we know it's current, and it's presented in a way, there's diagrams, there's pictures, we can understand it. You could see it if it wasn't so.
Yeah, sort of, we need to sort of keep it in our heads that they exist, therefore if we think we need something else, then
Yeah, as
we can get them going
I'm sorry
instead of
that
waiting to find them.
the graphics are too small for me to to share, because it's really easy format to look at. It's, you know, simple bar chart.
Keep an eye open.
So,
Councillor Jenkins? And I
I guess this is clearly, you're generating a lot of interest here in this forum. But there are 42 district councillors. It seems to me that some of this, at least in outline, should be presented to council, main council meetings. And then let's have 42 copies in Parliament. 42 copies printed, one for each district, with a must-read notice on the front of it.
I think your committee has there's an opportunity here, isn't there? For us to have a further conversation when the report is put together of the council's priority programmes of action. And then this committee can take the leadership role in promoting the information. That would be a really positive, really positive thing. And then there is, you know, there's just a huge amount of information, and almost you can look at this and you can be overwhelmed by the level of community need, and that's when we need to go back and think, no, we are the district council, we have a strategic responsibility for housing, we have a statutory duty for crime and disorder, statutory duties in relation to vulnerable groups. We've got a political aspiration to improve the economy. We are working with health to reduce health inequalities, but it is not our statutory duty.
I mean, I'm sorry.
Councillor York.
Thank
You don't stick around it that way. Councillor York.
I want to ask how frequently you think we might need to undertake a report like this? Where would your comparison timeframe be? Annually, 5 yearly,
I
whatever?
think it's probably something that an administration would look at, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But it's, I appreciate where we are now in the cycle of
Yeah,
this current administration, but this is information that is, you know, it is of this year.
it's got to be.
And it would be useful to inform priority programmes of action moving forward.
I'm also happy to receive mine digitally or be able to access it somewhere on the intranet.
Yeah, so
digitally, if that's all right, thank you.
it's a PDF
Yeah,
format
that's great.
that I will make, so I will make this report available and the specific report that I have knowledge of that exists for Ilfracombe. I'm more than happy then to, when Nina has put together the report on the corporate priority programmes of the council, come back to your committee, and then we can say that this is all these are the, you would have detail on the specific programmes about the status of those things in light of your knowledge then of the need that's been set out in a greater level of detail in this report.
Excellent.
Councillor Bullock.
I'm just going to say about what Councillor Jenkins says, because, okay, there's another 35 district councillors who don't know what this is all about. You know, they may have issues, may have needs which are not addressed here, and if it's brought to full council, because a lot of the stuff that goes on in our committee things doesn't get out to the wider district councillors who are not on those committees, and a lot of this stuff is missing. This could be very useful for the wider community to come back to you and say, okay, you're doing this, we want you to do that, and, you know.
Well, I think, Chair, from
Yeah.
the minutes then will note your consideration of this information. It is, it will track, won't it, your consideration of the priority programmes of action in relation to this. And when this work is reported through to full council, you know, there could be, we could look at how best then to prioritise and to widely promote the kind of work and its relationship to the.
Because you can flag up some good stuff.
Yeah, it's, it's, you know, academically, it's really fascinating.
Well done. Well done.
But I say, I have to confess, if I hadn't been prompted by your committee to have undertaken the research, I wouldn't have been, it's only through the direction of your committee that I'd established some of the information that was available elsewhere within the organisation.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Okay,
You're happy with that, Councillor Jenkins?
Yes, thank
I
you.
think we all are. Yeah. Thank you for that, Jeremy. Does this need to be noted, Oriana, or voted on?
Jeremy, well done.
Yeah, thank you.
So I think it's to note the consideration of the information, the report that you
Yeah.
can't see because it's too small and I can't beam it up. But as I say, then it is a meeting then to look at the report of the council's priority programmes of action in relation to the the identified need or needs in the insight report. And I think that would be a really useful exercise.
Dealt with a matter of urgency rather than put on the back boiler.
The Strategy and Resources Committee is in draft format.
Yeah.
So that will go and say it's really timely now that we've got this, but it just shows it shows the value of the programmes of the council's priority programmes of action in relation to some of these needs. Story needs to be told. Repeating myself.
And finally, Councillor York.
I note that our next meeting is focusing on service plans, so presumably those service plans will be directed by those programmes of work.
I think the service plan meeting is separate. I think that you have a specific role to scrutinise service plans, but of course your scrutiny of our service plans now could be informed by
Yes.
your knowledge of this document, which is slightly dangerous now for me presenting this document to you when I'm then producing my service plan. Maybe it's a meeting after that one where it would be appropriate then just to have a look at Nina's paper in conjunction with these areas of concern. The service plan meeting, I think, has got to be a specific kind of meeting for that purpose.
I've got another one more. I'll take.
information, will this be available, because we're formulating the new local plan. What this could be quite relevant for it, isn't it?
So this document will be attached to the made available as part of the minutes of the meeting. So I can only apologise again for my inability to run through and share some of the detail because it's just way too dinky.
Wait till I get down here.
Thank you, that.
I'm more than happy to leave this hard copy for someone who.
That's absolutely done really well. Thank you for that. Oriana, that's what, we've noted that, Julie. Lovely. I'll move on, if I may, to item 7, the work programme 2022-23, pages 13 to 16. That you again, Jeremy?
No.
No,
I think you might just have them on your work plan, but
you're there. But we've done that
Officer
bit.
Jeremy Mann.
Yes, Councillor Walker.
When do we want, questions for South West Water? Because we said, that we would rather put the questions to them, start off with, rather than them coming in and giving us a load of spiel about how
Yeah.
they are. So what, do we have a cut-off date for that? When would be the suitable cut-off date?
Is there a cut-off date for questions to go to South Africa?
Yeah.
I will have to find out. I don't know. Kelly, we can know.
Yeah, Kelly had been collecting, so I know I've seen some emails going back and forth about that.
Okay.
Our previous meeting was a joint meeting with Torridge. Is it likely to be just us or joint meeting?
Not sure of that.
I'll ask that as well.
Yeah.
Everything else.
Chair, these, the potential future items, is that in kind of any, is that in the order of which they will occur? Do you know, or is it availability?
Sure.
I think that the top one is what I asked for, and I hope that remains as a priority.
Make sure that one is.
Whether you can put that in with age concern as well, that's a possibility.
After yesterday, road network and infrastructure.
Can I just ask, road network and infrastructure, that's not within our remit, is it? That's heading that.
We'll talk about it.
He's going to get planned.
I think that's something
Why
to
that's
do.
in there, the road network one, should we?
Yeah.
So we can later
That's all why, how to put it down there if it's not, we can relook at that.
I don't know, I'd be interested to discuss it.
Yeah, so in
Depends
the
on
past,
community.
we've done health
Yeah,
and, you know, and
Yeah,
it's not one of our absolute, sort of,
Yeah.
yes, but we need to know.
you know, as a stakeholder, I guess, you know, and our residents and everyone else, it's relevant to.
So in relation to health, Chair, the, you know, we're not the NHS. So
Thank God.
but the services the council provides are all the impact on all the social determinants of health. So all the things that actually make people healthy are hugely influenced by the services provided by the council. So people talk about, you know, the kind of the health status of kind of individuals and people. And about 80% of our well-being, of our health, is directly associated with social determinants. So how we're living, the environment that we're living, and it's way less associated with things that sometimes people say, well, it's a genetic thing, it's a this or it's that. The social determinants of health are massive. The things that are identified in the report that you can't see are all the social determinants of health. So you're not the NHS, you have a massive responsibility and a massive opportunity to improve the health, the general health of your population through impacting on social determinants, which are the most important things that make people well and keep people well.
Taking pressure off NHS then.
The new legislation, affordable housing, warm housing. The fact that as a council, we provide £17 million worth of housing benefit to poorer households per year is probably the most massive thing that we do to improve the well-being of our population. But people wouldn't necessarily think that the council's associated with, people wouldn't necessarily recognise housing benefit as a direct contributory service to people's well-being, but it's by some margin, it is the most effective thing that we do to keep people well. We provide £17 million worth of injection of cash into.
So
What is
wait,
that as a percentage of the total budget? 70 million.
So housing benefits is largely passported, received and passported out. So we don't actually, it's not captured, we wouldn't consider
It
it.
comes from central government.
Yeah, so we don't, the operating budget of the council is just over 10 million. The benefits is like an in type thing, it's about £17 million a year.
having good transport infrastructure is the same thing, because you don't want poor infrastructure, leading to stress of getting to work, getting to do things, you know,
Yeah.
it's all linked, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
all linked, you know, interlinked.
No, I'd like to see the transport and infrastructure one left in, that was sort of, my comment was.
Yeah.
As I say, especially after yesterday, when I think half of anybody who came from Farrington end of town was late for work, hospital appointments and everything like that.
I had a mayoral engagement. I had a mayoral engagement at Parkfield School yesterday morning for their Christmas performance. And we had to wait an hour because their buses couldn't get their children to school. So, you know.
And there was
huge
quite a delay
impact.
yesterday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, they have to put temporary traffic lights on the, rail.
Gas, wasn't it?
It's a gas leak.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
So they were ready to have that route now.
Before.
With the priority to every junction.
Isn't it?
Anything else? No? Shall we note that report?
Yes, and questions asked,
And
yes.
questions asked, right. I don't think there's no further business. With that, I'll close the meeting. And wish, if I don't see you before Christmas, all a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Don't eat too much.
Thank you very much, Jack.
Thank you everyone for attending.